or daughter of God. I am a joint heir with Christ, sharing his inheritance with him. I am God's temple. I am united with the Lord, and I am one in spirit with him. I am a member of Christ's body. I am a new creation. I am reconciled to God and am a minister of reconciliation. I am a son or daughter of God and one in Christ. I am an heir of God, since I am a son or daughter of God. I am a saint. I am God's workmanship. I am a fellow citizen with the rest of God's people in his family. I am a prisoner of Christ. I am righteous and holy. I am a citizen of heaven. I am hidden with Christ in God. I am an expression of the life of Christ because he is my life. I am chosen of God, holy and dearly loved. I am chosen and dearly loved by God. I am a son or daughter of light and not of darkness. I am a holy brother or sister, a partaker of a heavenly calling. I am a partaker of Christ. I share his life. I am one of God's living stones and am being built up as a spiritual house. I am a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, to proclaim the excellences of him. I am an alien and a stranger to this world in which I temporarily live. I am an enemy of the devil. I am now a child of God. I resemble Christ when he returns. I am born of God, and the evil one cannot touch me. I am not the great I am, but by the grace of God, I am who I am. In Christ, I am the salt of the earth. I am the light of the world. I am God's child. I am a branch of the true vine, a channel of Christ's life. I am Christ's friend. I have been chosen and appointed to bear fruit. I am a slave of righteousness. I am enslaved to God. I am a son or daughter of God. I am a joint heir with Christ, sharing his inheritance with him. I am God's temple. I am united with the Lord, and I am one in spirit with him. I am a member of Christ's body. I am a new creation. I am reconciled to God and am a minister of reconciliation. I am a son or daughter of God and one in Christ. I am an heir of God, since I am a son or daughter of God. I am a saint. I am God's workmanship. I am a fellow citizen with the rest of God's people in his family. I am a prisoner of Christ. I am righteous and holy. I am a citizen of heaven. I am hidden with Christ in God. I am an expression of the life of Christ because he is my life. I am chosen of God, holy and dearly loved. I am chosen and dearly loved by God. I am a son or daughter of light and not of darkness. I am a holy brother or sister, a partaker of a heavenly calling. I am a partaker of Christ. I share his life. I am one of God's living stones and am being built up as a spiritual house. I am a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, to proclaim the excellences of him. I am an alien and a stranger to this world in which I temporarily live. I am an enemy of the devil. I am now a child of God. I resemble Christ when he returns. I am born of God, and the evil one cannot touch me. I am not the great I am, but by the grace of God, I am who I am.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Story Matters Masterclass. I am your host, Taffany, and today we're going to have an exciting opportunity to look through what it looks like to let your story be told. You know, God started to speak to me about Revelations chapter 12 and verse 11, where it speaks specifically about the enemy being defeated by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimonies. And I started to look back over my life as well as many lives as I have an opportunity to come in contact with. And it really is the stories that we have that helps people to see a face of hope when they're going through things that may not be where they can see the outcome. So I am excited that we're going to get a chance to do this today. I want to tell you that this is really was written about making a book or writing a book, but this technique, I'll say, the steps that we'll talk about are really beneficial whether you're going to write a book, whether you're going to speak your story from a stage, or if you're going to take it all the way to the big screen and do a documentary. This process is the same process that you would use no matter which one of those things you will do. So, what we're going to do today, I'm going to tell a little bit about my story and give you an opportunity to see what it looks like when you take and put your story into this process and then get a chance to share it with others. So, I'm going to begin to share my screen and we will get into this presentation that I have for you. And at the end, or a little bit later, we'll have the opportunity to have some questions if you add the VIP opportunity to your experience today. So, one of the things that my dad told me early on, I didn't meet my father until I was 30 years old. And at 30 years old, there were a lot of things that I had overcome in life that he had no clue about because there again, he wasn't there. So, as I was sharing with him all of the things about my story, he gave me this saying. He said, Taffany, how unfair is it that you have overcome these things and you're letting your story sit on your hard drive when it could be someone else's healing? So that started the whole process of what I do now is helping people to tell their stories, heal from their stories so that they can tell their stories, that they can be a face of hope to others. So who am I? I'm Taffany Williams, and I am the daughter of the Utmost High King. I am a best-selling author. My first book was an anthology. It was Journey to Forgiveness, which I had a lot of practice in that part. I'm a pastoral counselor licensed through the NCCA, which is the National Christian Counseling Association, and I have my degree through Colorado Seminary. I am also an international award-winning producer and writer. My first short film, which was Would You Marry You, became an award-winning production in 2020 or 2021. I'm also a master life coach, meaning that I hold certifications in at least 3 different areas, one being relationship, the other being life in general, purpose, and a few more that I have. So today what we're going to cover is just an introduction about how to write your life story. And in that, we will look at, just identifying some of the key points, finding your voice, being able to craft your story and dialogue it in such a way, and then also a little bit about publishing and sharing your story. So, we're going to jump right into my story. So, I was born to teenage parents. Both of my parents were 13 when they got pregnant, and then 14 by the time I was born. But when my mom was found to be pregnant, my grandmother started feeding her quinine and turpentine, which are two poisons that were used sometimes in order to abort babies. But God, he saw something different. So my dad was a musician, and all my life as a musician, I knew that he was out traveling, he was doing other things, but it did not stop the fact of me feeling abandoned and rejected and unloved and so many other things. So I began to construct stories. And those stories would be anything from, he's doing a tour on a cruise ship and it's a 5-year contract and that's why he couldn't come. Or, he's in another state and they don't have phone service there because he's out in the country. I started thinking of all kinds of stories to just help me to be able to deal and to cope with what I was feeling as a child that didn't have her father there. And in that situation, it made me desire to have the love of a father, a love of a man, period. And it actually ended up pushing me into the arms of men who were not good for me. Dealing with abandonment is a big issue. And as we get to digging into our stories, there may be things that you run into as you're getting ready to construct your story that you realize that there may be just a little bit of still a trauma space that's in that. And so that's kind of what happened with me is I dealt with that situation, but as I was writing, I kept running into some unhealed pain, some unhealed trauma. So before I was able to take that and let my story be told, whether it be from a stage, whether it be virtual events like what we're doing here, whether it be in a book or in a documentary, it still was a space that I had to heal so that I wasn't bleeding on people when it came time for me to share my story. So I did tell you a little bit about the Would You Marry You space. Would You Marry You was birthed from a space of me saying just that. Would you marry you? I had all of these ideas of what I wanted in a man. And God was like, okay, but would I take that time to construct that man or help that man to mature, then to bring him to you, and then you and your brokenness take the time away from what I've put into him. So he took me on a journey to truth, because I had to disown the lies that I believed about myself. And that was like removing the mask, because I had the education, I had the job, I had all of the stuff, but I was still broken on the inside. So everything in my life said that I should quit. But after going through some of those things and growing through some of those things, I decided that I wasn't going to let my pain be just there for no reason, that it was going to have a purpose. So, the second book that I wrote, A Journey to Truth, was really just that. It was chronologically looking at incidents over my life. So I was 4 years old, I got kidnapped at gunpoint. So that was one of the first key themes that I started to look at. And then after that, I started moving forward. At 9 years old, I was molested. At 12 years old, I lost my grandfather. At 15 years old, I met my first husband. And it was all these other things that had happened. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about as far as constructing your story, that you need to kind of start putting a timeline together and looking at key themes. And we'll get a little deeper into that in a minute. So, what I realized is that I had not only believed these lies, but I had actually owned these lies, meaning that I had come into agreement with what I believed about myself, and I was behaving that way. One of my spiritual fathers, Dr. Neil T. Anderson, says it this way: you cannot consistently behave in a way that's inconsistent with what you believe about yourself. Meaning that if I believe that I'm stupid, I'm going to do stupid things. If I believe that I'm a liar, I'm going to continue lying. If I believe that I'm a thief, I'm going to continue to steal. Those are things that we have to disown. Mine weren't that drastic, but I mean, it's still something that I needed to look at. The things that I had to deal with was, there again, feeling unworthy, feeling unloved, feeling unlovable, not just unloved, but unlovable. And as I was thinking that way, it caused me to have a very pessimistic view on life. I almost went into situations expecting to be rejected, expecting to be abandoned, expecting to be made unworthy, that I didn't fit in. It wasn't until much later that I realized that I wasn't created to fit in, I was created to stand out. So, this book was really a part of my healing journal. And at the healing journal space, it took me several years to write this book because anytime I would get to a specific space that I was unhealed, I had to take the time to heal from that particular trauma before I could move on to the next situation. And that is something that you may run into as you're on that process, in that process of writing your own story or getting your story together so that you can speak it from a stage. It's interesting that I found out not long ago that this book was actually in jails and prisons across the United States and in the hands of individuals all over the world. So no longer was someone's healing sitting on my hard drive. It was actually in the hands of people who could take this book. At the end of each chapter, I actually identified what is the lie that I believed about myself. And then I asked the Lord, Lord, what is your truth? And can you give me a scripture to stand on if, well, actually, when that lie comes back to compete for what your truth is? And I started to stand on those scriptures. And then the next space I would give is, now it's your turn. What are the lies that you've believed based on how you were conceived? And what is the lesson that I was supposed to learn through that? Because good, bad, or indifferent, every situation in life, there's a lesson attached to it. So, what is the lesson that I should learn from this? And now, how can I take this truth? How can I take this experience? How can I take this wisdom to be able to help someone else? And so, this book went on to do some amazing things. And I've heard some amazing testimonies from this book. So, just like my story is able to help other people heal and be a face of hope to people, yours can be the same thing, whether it be a book again or it be you speaking it from a stage. So, here we go. The introduction to writing your story. Number one, we have to understand what the purpose is of us writing the story. So sometimes the purpose is just a chronological experience so that you could look back over it and there again do the heart work that is necessary to heal your soul so that you're not coming into agreement with lies that you believed about yourself. You could also be writing your story as a personal lineage or generational thing for your legacy, right? So maybe you want your kids, grandkids, great grandkids, great great grandkids to be able to pick up a book or to watch a YouTube video or to watch a documentary that you have created that gives them an expression of all of the generational things that have gone on in your life. I even went back as far as grand and great grandparents. There's one chapter in my book that literally went back to the very first person that we could find that stepped foot on American soil in our family. We have one person in our family that does extensive generational or genealogical things. I think that's how you say it. And she was able to bring that truth to us. And by her bringing that part, and I had like from that point forward, we started working on that. And so now my grandchildren have a systematic or chronological explanation, understanding of how we got here, what the nationalities were, and then once we did our DNA on one of those platforms, now we have actually additional information that they can have for themselves as they grow older, even to share with their kids and grandkids. So, if that's your reason for writing, just understanding the purpose of your writing, understanding the purpose of telling your story, because it's going to make a difference in how you structure it. If you're speaking your story to, say, some college students, it's going to be because you're wanting to help them to be able to identify maybe their purpose so that they don't spend extra time in school or unnecessary money. That's going to sound different narratively than if you're writing it for your children or your grandchildren. So when we understand our potential audience, as well as understanding the purpose of our story, it makes a difference of how we structure that and how we put it together. So, if you're taking notes, I want you to either take a picture of this screen or to write this out so that you can begin to get the process going of what it looks like to be able to construct your story in such a way that your potential audience will be able to hear your voice and you can be a face of hope to them, or to be able to share some of your tools, experiences, or wisdom. Now, why do you want to write your story? And who are your potential readers? These are all things that need to be taken care of and looked at prior to you even picking up your pen. I know that it's easy to just to say, but if the more work we do on the front end, the more seamless our process is on the back end. Being a filmmaker, I always say that the more time we spend in pre-production, the less money, time, and energy we'll spend in post-production, simply because we have the outcome, the intended experience. It's already in our mind before we get started. And it's no different when it comes to writing your story. So, moving on forward, identifying our key moments and themes. That's kind of what I talked about before, is making sure that we look at those moments. If it's an outline, if it's a timeline, whatever that looks like, identifying key moments and themes in your life and learning how to structure your story with maximum impact. It means that we will learn to develop our story over the process. And when we have a theme, it makes it easier to develop that. When we have our purpose, it makes it easier to develop that. And when we know our potential readers, it's easier to be able to take care of that. So we also, when we're looking at impact, what is the 20% that you can share with your viewers, whether it be whatever they are, potential readers or viewers or participants? What is the 20% that you can share with them that will make an 80% difference or impact in their life? That is very important when we're looking at how far our story is going to go. There again, if it's a book that's going to sit on your shelf and it's to be there for your potential, your grandkids or whatever, that's a little different than if we're trying to become a best-selling author, or if we're trying to turn this into a documentary. So the key points and all of that is very important. The next piece is finding your voice to tell your story. These are 3 steps that I would like for you to, there again, take a screenshot, write it down, whatever you need to do to be able to follow these steps so that you can identify the key moments and the themes in your life and to structure it around to make maximum impact. The first one is reflection and brainstorming. Now, in the reflection and brainstorming, set aside some time to just kind of reflect on your life experiences and then go through the process of considering both the positive and the negative experiences, and then think about how those things impacted you. Whether negative things will impact you one way, positive things may impact you a different way, and get that in your, write it down so that you can look back over it and see which parts of that story you're going to use. Because as we're learning our voice and we're learning the narrative pieces of it, it's important to have some highs and some lows to keep your potential viewers, potential readers engaged in your story. So the next thing you'll do is to organize your story. Now, sometimes stories can be written in chronological order, which is what I kind of did in my book. But there are also stories that can be written where you're going along and then you have a flashback of something that happened previously that led you into the space that you're in. This is really, you see this a lot when you're doing more of the fictions. Well, I mean, even in nonfiction, you can see this. But it's important for you to identify there again those key moments in life and then to organize them in a way that makes the narrative structure easier for you to make a compelling and cohesive story. The next thing is finding your voice, right? Finding your voice is probably one of the more important things. You can't write like someone else. You don't speak like someone else. You don't write like someone else. And so it's important for us to be authentic when it comes to finding your voice. Your voice may not sound like mine. Your articulation may be different. And there again, understanding your potential readers and your potential clients makes the difference in the voice that you use in that situation. Just make sure you're being you and not trying to be someone else. Crafting scenes and dialogues. This is another very important part of creating your story. So, how do you craft vivid scenes and dialogues? And understanding how to incorporate the sensory details when you're writing. So, what that means is this. I'll tell you a quick story and experience. I had the opportunity in 2018 to go to Prayer Mountain, which is in Moravian Falls, North Carolina. When I went there, I was very broken. I had dealt with a blow to my life structure. I went up, and as I got up the mountain, the air became thinner and thinner. As I was breathing, it almost seemed like I didn't have to inhale or exhale. I just was. It was that level of peace that was there. I could hear the wind through the wings of the birds that took off and landed on different trees. There was a level of silence that was there that was the most peaceful place that I had ever experienced. The smell of the pine trees just drawed me in and made me feel safe and secure. I could hear people in the distance, but it almost felt as if the air around me was just for me and no one else. Sensory details. Letting a person know in your dialogue smells, touch, taste, hearing, all of your sensory details being a part of crafting your story. It helps to draw your people in so that they can experience life through your articulation and through the dialogues as you're crafting the scenes. Here again, take a picture of this or jot it down so that you will know how to craft using sensory language. It might be good to just write down the five senses. And as you're crafting your story or your scenes for your movie or documentary, making sure that you are touching on and articulating every one of your senses so that your potential viewers, readers, can experience that thing with you. It makes it more believable. It makes it more personal, not just for you, but for them as well, especially when we get into dealing with emotions. When you can say, I felt unloved, I felt unappreciated, I felt whatever. And then going from that to now feeling joy and peace and happiness through forgiveness or whatever it might be. So, how you craft your scenes and your dialogue really does bring your story to life. So, looking at those things and then read it and practice it. When someone gets feedback and is shared with a group. So, sometimes I will just kind of read it to myself in the mirror, or I will grab a couple of friends and say, hey, I got this great idea, but I want to run it past you to see how it sounds, to see if there's something I'm missing, see if I'm being able to touch the core of the emotions of the people or my potential readers or people that I'm speaking to. So I know 30 minutes is a very short time, but I wanted to give you a quick update or a quick understanding of what it means to share your story. And in the marketing piece of it, you got your product, you set a price, Get a place that you're going to let that come out, whether it's going to be your book on Amazon, whether it's you speaking on a podcast, whether you're standing in front of a virtual experience on a stage or live event, whether you're doing a workshop or you're doing a retreat, or maybe even you're doing a movie or a documentary. And then promote, 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 understanding your potential audience. There is a QR code here, and I want to give you an opportunity to go a little bit deeper if that is what you choose. Now, at this QR code is the same place that you registered for this workshop, this masterclass. You get an opportunity to go deeper. We have a 30-minute, or at least 30-minute experience in a VIP section that will come about an hour from now, which gives you a chance to go get something to eat or grab another notebook or whatever it may be. But if you scan this QR code, it will take you to a place where you can go through the process of registering for the VIP or a potential offer that we have. This offer is a Your Story Matters workshop. It's a done with you process. So you get 6 workshops on writing your book or crafting your story. And the bonus is, now that it's written, what do you do with it? So the bonus pieces that we're offering today is to become a self-published author, the editing tools to complete your book, designing your book cover, formatting your manuscript, and even some marketing files as resources. We also have a 1-day intensive, meaning that you will leave that space with your book already launched on Amazon, an implementation and completion workshop. But because you guys are here today, I want to offer you a fast action bonus offer. And that fast action is $7.97 from now until the 31st of this month. It's the same things that you would get, but instead of the $9.97, it's giving you a $200 discount to be able to come on board and do just that. Now, you can take what you've learned today and you can work on your own, and it doesn't mean that we won't be here to help you out some. But if you want to get it done and get it done quickly and utilize the gifts and talents of not just myself, but other professionals who have done this, then feel free to jump on this offer. There is another offer that we have that we will be doing here pretty soon, and it is the Faces of Hope anthology, meaning that instead of you having to do one book on your own, you'll be a part of 10 or 11 other people, because I will be in the book as well, where you will be able to write one chapter, a 1,200 word one chapter, and promote it in your community. And in that, your bio, your picture, and all of your contact information will be included in that book. And so that's what we have for you today. It has been a joy to share that with you and to spend this time letting you get to know a little bit about who I am, what it is I do, and what all we have to offer in Journey to Impact. Journey to Impact is an amazing opportunity to grow and thrive and to experience life and impact, not just in this environment, but also in any sphere of influence that you are in. Again, I am Taffany Williams, and I thank you so much for coming and spending this time here at this masterclass. So jump in, grab your link, dive deeper, and get over on that VIP experience that we will be starting in about 1 hour. You still have time to register. It's $31 to have that additional time, and you still have time to register and jump on over there with us a little bit later. So with that being said, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. See you soon.